I love you, Gabrielle. I love you, Xena.
We're back with another marvelous video, and this time we'll take a stroll down memory lane. Although Xena Warrior Princess originated as an unlikely spin-off, the fantasy escapade soared to prominence in the 1990s and has since garnered a fervent cult following. Lucy Lawless effortlessly commanded the role of Xena, as a powerful combatant engaging in battles against Greek gods and mythical creatures, while wielding her chakram weapon and emitting a resounding war cry. Xena's introduction in a gripping 3-episode arc in the famed television hit Hercules: The Legendary Journeys drove quite a lot of public attention, propelling her into her spin-off series and cementing her place in television history. Running from 1995 to 2001, Xena Warrior Princess delivered a total of 134 episodes of historical fantasy, imbuing us with magical action and zany humor. Even today, roughly 2 decades after its season finale, the series maintains an enduring cult following, and you have to agree that back in the day, the allure of Xena was undeniable. But cult fans of the series recognize that while Xena is undoubtedly capable, she is not without her stalwart companion, Gabrielle, who always stands steadfastly at her side. Though their relationship begins with Gabrielle as an unwanted companion, their bond evolves over time, showcasing Gabrielle's transformation from a mere tag-along to a powerful equal in strength and intellect. As their connection deepened within the show, fans pondered not the if, but when their friendship would blossom into something more profound. Because there was quite a lot of tension, and all of us saw it. And for the 90s, Xena and Gabrielle were no less than an LGBTQIA icon. So, what made us think they were a couple? Why was their relationship never confirmed in the show by its makers? Or what was their enduring impact on the masses? Without wasting another moment, let's find out. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who are Xena and Gabrielle? Before we get to the core of this video, let's find out what the backstory of these female warriors are. Starting with Xena of Amphipolis, renowned as the warrior princess and the destroyer of nations, who cemented her legendary status across ancient Greece and beyond. As an invulnerable warlord, she commanded one of history's most feared and relentless armies, alongside her companion Boreas. Their exploits took them across distant lands. However, it was her encounter with Hercules that completely changed her, motivating her towards a path of redemption. But Xena's journey began in her late teens, when a warlord named Cortes plundered and ravaged her village. Against her mother's wishes, she rallied a motley crew of villagers and her 2 brothers, Taurus and Lysias, to confront the threat. Tragically, Lysias fell in battle, leading to Xena being ostracized from returning home. This pivotal moment set her on a course of violence and conquest as a merciless warrior, as she traversed the globe with her lover Boreas by her side. It was actually in the middle of the Great Battle of Corinth, where Xena and Boreas clashed with the Centaurs, she gave birth to her son, Solon. This extraordinary event marked a turning point in her life, alongside her fateful encounters with Hercules and her steadfast companion Gabrielle. As she embraced her role as a hero, Xena embarked on many noble quests, using her indomitable skills in the service of the greater good, and journeying to distant lands like India and Egypt alongside Gabrielle, who, although was her best friend in the beginning, later was implied to be her soulmate. Now, coming to Gabrielle, she has always been Xena's one true companion till the very end. Hailing from the village of Potidea, 17-year-old Gabrielle's life took a dramatic turn when she joined forces with a reformed Xena, who had saved their village from the clutches of a warlord named Draco. Eager to hone her fighting skills, Gabrielle was bestowed the rite of caste by the Amazon Tereus, which helped her acquire a fighting staff and eventually ascend to the rank of an Amazon princess. Despite inheriting the throne following Queen Melosa's demise at the hands of Alaska, Gabrielle chose to continue her travels with Xena, relinquishing her royal duties to follow Amazon Ephany. However, their journey took a dark turn when Xena's past entanglements with Julius Caesar led them to Britannia to help Boudica in her fight. Here, Gabrielle crossed paths with Craftstar, unwittingly entangled in a sinister cult worshipping the demon god Dayhawk. Compelled to take a life in self-defense, Gabrielle found herself bearing Dayhawk's child named Hope, who rapidly matured and wreaked havoc. This unfortunately included the tragic demise of Xena's son, Solon, within just a few hours of Hope's birth, but ironically, she was killed by her own son at the end. Following her transformative journey to India with Xena, where they embraced a peaceful existence, Gabrielle temporarily embraced pacifism. However, the ominous prophecy of her demise at the hands of the Romans, foreseen by the shamaness Alti, loomed large. Unfortunately, tragedy struck when Brutus killed Ethne, prompting Gabrielle to pass the Amazon's throne to Chilapa. Subsequently, Caesar, aided by the vengeful Callisto, captured both Xena and Gabrielle, subjecting them to the brutal fate of crucifixion, mere moments before Caesar's own demise. When their powerful ally, Eli, intervened, Xena and Gabrielle were resurrected, with assistance from a reformed Callisto. Throughout her journey, Gabrielle ascended to the position of queen in 3 distinct Amazon tribes, which were her own Telequire tribe, the Northern tribe, and Marga's tribe. But she never ascended the throne and entrusted the crown to a worthy successor, allowing her to continue her adventures alongside Xena. Following Xena's demise in Joppa, Gabrielle inherited her chakram, carrying on their quest for the greater good, while being accompanied by the presence of Xena's soul assisting her in her adventures. Why did the show never confirm Xena and Gabrielle's relationship? So, as we've discussed before, the show's Xena warrior princess depicted a burgeoning romantic connection between its titular character and her companion Gabrielle, although the show refrained from explicitly labeling them as a couple due to network constraints and character dynamics. In the 1990s, LGBTQ+ representation on television was very limited, prompting many viewers to latch on to the evident romantic undertones between the reformed warlord and the battling bard. While Xena subtly hinted at their romance throughout its 6-season run, stopping short of confirmation, the implication of Gabrielle and Xena being soulmates resonated deeply with fans. Although the romantic subplot between the 2 female leads was not originally a part of the show's plan, dedicated viewers picked up on the palpable chemistry between them before it was acknowledged by the cast and crew. Nonetheless, the writers and cast embraced the fan-driven enthusiasm and gradually leaned into the implied romance as the series progressed. Even though the show tried to maintain a semblance of heterosexuality, it pushed boundaries with numerous scenes depicting intimate moments between the 2 women that defied easy explanation outside the context of romance. On a side note, apparently the romantic relationship between Xena and Gabrielle never materialized on screen because of the studio's reluctance, who were more concerned about portraying Xena Warrior Princess as a lesbian-focused show. Consequently, they prohibited featuring Xena and Gabrielle together in the opening title sequences, fearing it would solidify such perceptions. Now, apart from the dynamic duo of Xena and Gabrielle, another pivotal relationship in the show revolved around Xena and Ares, who was portrayed by Kevin Smith. Ares, the god of war, and Xena's former mentor, often served as both antagonist and confidant. Their connection was complex, with Ares harboring a mix of admiration and temptation towards Xena as she strayed from her violent path to pursue a path of righteousness. Despite their antagonistic relationship, there was an undeniable undercurrent of romantic tension between them. Plus, the writers were adamant about maintaining Ares as an important addition to Xena's life due to the captivating love-hate dynamic they share. And choosing to pair Xena with Gabrielle would have meant relinquishing the complexity of her connection with Ares, which was a narrative choice the writers were unwilling to make. But despite the reluctance of both the writers and the network to explicitly label them as a couple, the undeniable romantic undertones between Xena and Gabrielle continue to resonate with viewers today. Their relationship not only stood the test of time, but also paved the way for future queer narratives in television. And while Xena Warrior Princess refrained from explicitly confirming the nature of Xena and Gabrielle's relationship or the depth of Xena's connection with Ares, the show's ambiguous storytelling allowed fans to form their own interpretations. Plus, if the show had been produced in a different era, the narrative choices surrounding Xena and Gabrielle's relationship might have unfolded very differently. What made people think that there was tension between Xena and Gabrielle in the first place? So, a widely held belief among fans is that Xena and Gabrielle's relationship took a romantic turn at the end of the quest in the middle of Season 2, where we witnessed how their bond transitions from friendship to something deeper. However, I believe it took a bit more time before they officially became a couple. It's really fascinating to trace when Xena and Gabrielle might have realized their feelings for each other, because this is something the show never exclusively specified on screen. For Xena, I believe the realization came fairly early on, possibly within the first season. Given her past romantic entanglements with other characters Lao Ma and Akemi, she likely understood her attraction to women. One moment that really stood out was the end of Death in Chains, when Gabrielle seeks comfort from Xena when the guy she liked died. Xena's reaction to Gabrielle's vulnerability seems to catch her off guard, showing a side of her that's not typically associated with the otherwise stoic warrior princess. While Lucy Lawless's past commentary in an interview suggested that she was merely exploring how to play that scene, it comes across as a significant moment for Xena, hinting at a realization that her feelings for Gabrielle extend beyond friendship. In fact, from the moment Xena first sets eyes on Gabrielle, we see her having a palpable connection. Xena's swift intervention to save Gabrielle from being whipped in Pododea village speaks volumes about her feelings, and throughout their journey, Xena's attention frequently gravitates towards Gabrielle, even in the heat of battle. For me, the confirmation of Xena's feelings comes during the time she has a visceral reaction to Gabrielle's apparent death. It's a moment of raw emotion that solidifies her realization about how she's deeply in love. However, given Xena's tumultuous past and her concerns about being a suitable partner for Gabrielle, there's a constant theme of internal conflict throughout the series regarding their relationship, because Xena often expressed her concerns about Gabrielle losing her innocence, fearing that their relationship would inevitably lead to that outcome. However, their bond did indeed change Gabrielle, as we see in episodes like When Fates Collide, which offers a glimpse of what her life might have been like had they never met. While it's not a scenario where Gabrielle's life necessarily improves, in fact, she misses out on the deep connection she shares with her soulmate for eternity. It does highlight the significant impact Xena has on her life. At this point, Xena isn't aware of the full extent of their connection, and it wasn't explicitly clear that Gabrielle was attracted to women despite her hero worship of Xena. Now, Gabrielle certainly did give off some baby gay vibes, but her attraction to men is also evident throughout the series. Despite these nuances, Xena likely found it easier to leave their relationship unaddressed, contenting herself with the notion that their friendship was stronger than any blood tie. Additionally, the show introduced male suitors for Gabrielle as distractions until her death in Destiny shifted the dynamics. After Xena's resurrection and her glimpse into Gabrielle's thoughts, she finds the courage to lean in for the kiss in the quest. But for Gabrielle, this moment comes as a surprise, which was easily evident in her reaction as she pulls back and blinks at Autolycus. However, with Xena's imminent permanent death and the rush to obtain ambrosia, there isn't much time to dwell on these newfound feelings. Following the quest, the duo swiftly unites to work with Callisto, who had a hand in Perdiccas's death earlier in the show. Despite having a moment where they discussed their experience of being in each other's bodies, which was not as dirty as it sounds now, Gabrielle was still processing Perdiccas's death, leaving little room to explore her feelings for Xena. So, most people prefer to think that because Xena and Gabrielle haven't discussed their feelings since the quest, Xena perceived Gabrielle's silence as a rejection of her advances, while Gabrielle was still processing everything, especially with Perdiccas's death. Even in the following episode, amidst a war between the Athenian army and the Horde, when Xena resorts to her darker warlord tendencies to rally them, Gabrielle confronts her and serves as her moral compass throughout the entire time. And when Xena notices this, she acknowledges how Gabrielle understands hatred but never gave into it. Before we know it, she goes on to express her love for Gabrielle, but stops short of fully expressing it. We see a hesitation on Xena's part, probably because she feels Gabrielle is not very sure of her, but it feels like Gabrielle realizes the darkness inside Xena and still accepts this part of her, even if she challenges it from time to time. This marks a shift in their dynamic, although it might be a little difficult to pinpoint exactly what changes. Perhaps it's the way Gabrielle looks at Xena at the moment, indicating she's starting to figure out her feelings and is ready to address them. When do we think they got together? So, Season 2 of Xena Warrior Princess concludes with a light-hearted episode centered around Cupid's love arrows. At one point, we even saw Gabrielle confess to Xena about her struggling with celibacy, prompting a rather flirtatious response from Xena. But when Xena is struck by Cupid's arrow, the first person she sees is Draco, eliciting an incredulous yet potentially jealous reaction from Gabrielle. This dynamic continues as Gabrielle observes Xena aggressively venting her sexual frustrations without holding it back. However, when she herself is hit by Cupid's arrow, her concerns seemingly vanish. Interestingly, there's a deliberate slow-motion sequence where the scene implies that she should see Xena first, but the joke is that she sees Joxer instead. While she starts obsessing over him, Joxer revels in this attention until he is disappointed that all of this was simply Cupid's doing. So later, we see Xena and Gabrielle resuming their flirtatious dynamics once again. I don't doubt for a second that Gabrielle had reflected on these events and likely considered what it would have been like if she had seen Xena first. Perhaps she recalled Xena's advice from Season 1 about finding someone who makes her smile and not being afraid to pursue it. This introspection might have prompted Gabrielle to come to the realization that she might be ready to confront her feelings for Xena and take action in the future. Even the next season offers further nuances to support this interpretation of Xena and Gabrielle's relationship. In the aftermath of Xena's madness induced by the Furies, there are a good few moments between them that exude quite a lot of tenderness and intimacy. Gabrielle's concern for Xena is seen particularly in scenes like when Xena is standing naked before villagers, accusing them of being murderers. She approaches Xena to talk her down, making it seem like Gabrielle was playing the part of a concerned girlfriend or partner. Or, the time when she bids Xena goodbye suggests a deep emotional connection, possibly indicating they might have had some form of an existing intimacy between them. Even Aaron's comments about not understanding what Gabrielle sees in Xena hints at their relationship being perceived as more than just friendship to the public eye. Adding on top of that, in the second episode of the season, Joxer points out a hickey on Xena's neck, prompting a subtle but telling reaction from Gabrielle. Furthermore, the naturalness with which Xena hugs Gabrielle while cremating Joxer, followed by them sleeping in each other's arms for the first time, suggests a newfound level of intimacy between them. The episode also includes light and humorous allusions to Xena and Gabrielle's romantic involvement, like the time Xena playfully juggled 2 coconuts in front of Gabrielle's breasts, which seemed more like a sexual innuendo at the time, further reinforcing the notion that something significant has transpired between them, even if the show refrains from explicitly confirming it. And all of this is evidence enough to affirm that their inherent relationship is unmistakable, even without explicit confirmation.
I love you, Xena. I love you too.
How did the writers of the show toy with Xena and Gabrielle's dynamic? Although the network was skittish about Xena and Gabrielle's relationship, the creative team deliberately pushed the relationship between Xena and Gabrielle into a subtextual space. For those attuned to the subtle cues and undertones, it was unmistakably clear that Xena and Gabrielle shared a deep and romantic love for each other. However, for those who preferred not to acknowledge or accept this aspect of their relationship, it remained non-existent. This approach allowed the show to cater to a wide range of viewers, while still providing ample material for those who recognized and appreciated the depth of Xena and Gabrielle's sapphic bond. Even the writers and performers of Xena Warrior Princess took their chance to cleverly insert sapphic elements into the show whenever possible. For instance, during a scene where Xena confiscates a breast dagger from Gabrielle and tucks it into her own bodice, Gabrielle quips about how it was not like Xena's breasts weren't dangerous enough. Additionally, in Season 2, when Gabrielle transforms into a vampire-like creature, it's worth noting who she chooses to bite, and it certainly isn't Joxer. But it wasn't all subtext between Xena and Gabrielle, as the duo did share some significant moments of physical affection, some of which we have seen, like when Xena kisses Gabrielle goodbye during the time Gabrielle was briefly married to a man, or the time they shared a kiss when Xena inhabited Autolycus's body in Season 2's The Quest. quest. During Xena's temporary death, the pair reconnects in the spirit realm, with Gabrielle expressing her desire to communicate before Xena cuts her off with a kiss. However, depending on the perspective, the writers made sure the audience could also see it as Gabrielle and Autolycus kissing, given the entire body-swapping fiasco. But their relationship only deepened from there. They briefly raised a child together, sacrificed themselves for each other on multiple occasions, and openly expressed their love for one another. Even the three-part Rheingold saga of Season 6 solidifies Xena as Gabrielle's soulmate, as Xena is the only one capable of passing through magic soulmates-only fire and awakening Gabrielle with true love's kiss. Despite the undeniable sexual tension that could be cut using Xena's chakram, the relationship between Xena and Gabrielle was never officially confirmed. This deliberate ambiguity was partly due to the creative team's desire to maintain the presence of Kevin Smith's Ares, which we already discussed before. The show thrived on the tension between Xena's past as a warlord and her present as a reformed warrior, and this tension was epitomized by the quasi-love triangle involving Xena, Gabrielle, and Ares. So, to keep the network from coming at their throats for featuring an openly sapphic relationship in the 90s, they kept Ares in the mix, even if they appreciated the bond between Xena and Gabrielle as best friends, or potentially more. Now, Ares represented a force that resisted Xena's journey towards self-improvement, which was the polar opposite of how Gabrielle only sparked the good side of Xena. Ares functioned like that of a toxic partner who encourages destructive behavior, particularly if that behavior involved decimating entire villages. And despite Xena's occasional decisions in favor of Gabrielle, there were still many episodes where she indulged in violent escapades with Ares. This entire dynamic was used as a form of queerbaiting and queer-coding by the writers, who used subtexts in order to cater the sapphic audiences without risking pissing off the homophobes. So, sort of a two birds and one stone thing. Now, back in 1995, the idea of featuring a lesbian couple on screen was completely off the table. I know this concept is difficult to grasp now, but the cultural landscape was vastly different back then because even the concept of a female action hero was met with resistance. Introducing a female action hero who happened to be in love with another woman would have likely resulted in the show being shut down and facing severe backlash, so the writers and the makers didn't really have much of a choice. Therefore, viewers were left to interpret the relationship between Xena and Gabrielle as they saw fit. Whether they were a couple or just close friends depended entirely on individual interpretation. This ambiguity allowed the audience to project their own desires onto the characters, as that's precisely what subtext is designed for.
Gabrielle will always be here.
Lucy Lawless on Xena's LGBTQIA legacy. When Lucy Lawless first stepped into the role of the fierce Grecian warrior princess Xena for a guest appearance on Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, neither she nor the show's creators anticipated the monumental impact her character would have. Initially slated for just a 3-episode stint, Xena's captivating presence and Lawless's stellar portrayal prompted the birth of an entirely new show. So that's how Xena Warrior Princess embarked on a 6-season journey, leaving an indelible mark on pop culture. Years after the show's end, Lawless reflected on the show's empowering messages of self-empowerment that resonated deeply with audiences. Now, while some viewers immediately recognized the groundbreaking nature of their relationship, Lawless admitted that she and Renee O'Connor were initially oblivious to the subtext. But once she figured it out, Lucy spoke in many interviews how Gabrielle was perfect for Xena's stoic character, given how only she was capable of drawing out information and giving the counterpoint Xena needed. In many ways, Lucy believed that Gabrielle's character added sense to Xena's existence. It also shed light on the show's positive depiction of female love, particularly in a 2003 issue of Out magazine, where Lawless openly affirmed Xena and Gabrielle's romantic connection and how the writers seeded the concept in right from the beginning for those who needed it. Plus, Lawless views her involvement in defines Xena as a means of giving back to a community and has shown her unwavering support throughout her career. Even 25 years later, the influence of Xena and Gabrielle's relationship reverberates across popular genre shows like Black Lightning, She-Ra and the Princess of Power, and Wynonna Earp, all of which prominently feature lesbian couples. Lucy Lawless, however, remains humble about Xena Warrior Princess's impact on LGBTQ representation. She believed every step paves the way for the next, but progress can also face setbacks, which was evident with the initial resistance to the idea of a female action hero, particularly from French syndicators who doubted the acceptance of a female warrior. But Lawless believed Xena challenged and ultimately dismantled those stereotypes. So maybe if we ever see a Xena reboot, this is something that could be intricately explored, which is a concept that even Lucy Lawless agrees to. What is our marvelous verdict? Back in the day, the prevailing belief was that Xena and Gabrielle were inseparable, bonded in a way that transcended mere friendship. However, I've always had my doubts about their overt displays of affection in public settings. It just doesn't ring true to me that they are the type that would be all lovey-dovey out in the open. In my view, they're a very private couple, reserving their moments of intimacy for behind closed doors. That being said, it's not that I don't believe they're deeply connected or in love. Both Xena and Gabrielle have experienced significant trauma in their lives, which I think influences their inclination to keep their relationship low-key. Similar to Logan from the X-Men, Xena prefers to keep her personal matters discreet. Their love is communicated through subtle gestures, like secret looks, shared smiles, or a pointed stare in defense of their bond. In my interpretation, I see them as being in an open relationship, given that both of them had other love interests, although it's not explicitly stated in canon. Canonically, they're portrayed as bisexual, but their commitment to each other remains unwavering, which makes them kindred spirits. If you watch the show as an adult, it would be hard to deny the romantic undertones between Xena and Gabrielle. But if you watched this as a tween back in the time when the show had aired, you probably wouldn't pick up on the subtleties unless someone mentioned it. But Xena Warrior Princess became the representation the gays desperately needed back in the day, as it started the broader general discussion surrounding their relationship, partly because there were news segments about Xena-themed nights at lesbian bars. There was always a confusion around her character because Xena could not be called a lesbian given her relationship with other men in the show. However, there were many overt scenes that stuck with many and were often dismissed as mere pandering or fan service. But again, to each its own, because the lack of explicit information from the show leaves the nature of Xena and Gabrielle's relationship open to individual interpretation. Whether you see them as close friends, soulmates, or romantic partners, their deep connection remains a significant aspect of the show's enduring legacy for many fans to this day. But what are your theories on Xena and Gabrielle's eccentric friendship? Let us know in the comment box below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.